I want you to take a second and think about the last time you bought something.
And not just, grabbing milk at the store.
No, exactly. Something significant, something that made a dent in your bank account. A new phone, maybe. Or a piece of furniture.
A car, even.
A car, yeah. Now, be honest with yourself. How did that whole process actually go down? Was it a pure impulse buy?
You just saw it and had to have it.
Right. Or did you agonize over it? Did you shop around for days, opening 20 tabs on your browser, comparing prices, reading reviews?
It's fascinating because it is rarely just a simple exchange of cash for goods, is it?
No.
We like to think we're these rational actors, but there's a whole layer of psychology and specific maneuvering happening just beneath the surface of every transaction.
Exactly. And that is what we are unpacking today. We have a fascinating stack of source material specifically, a really comprehensive vocabulary breakdown.
Right.
Now, I know what you're thinking, a vocabulary list. That sounds like homework. But this isn't just a list of definitions.
No, definitely not. What's so interesting here is that when you look at these specific terms, and they're drawn from our source, Voc page 7, you start to see a narrative emerge.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a list of words, it's the life cycle of a deal. It traces the journey of money from the moment a consumer gets a phone call they didn't ask for.
All the way up to these massive corporate entities just swallowing each other up.
Exactly.
That is the mission for this deep dive. We are going to peel back the curtain on the specific language used in the world of buying, selling, and big business.
It's really a look at the machinery of commerce.
And we're going to trace that life cycle, starting right on the front lines and moving all the way up to the boardroom.
And it starts with something most of us find incredibly annoying.
The phone ringing during dinner.
That's the one.
Don't remind me. But yes, let's start there. The cold approach. Our sources list two terms that are often used interchangeably, but there's a nuance. We have telesales or telemarketing.
Right. So at its core, the definition of telesales is pretty neutral. It's just selling or marketing goods and services by phone. It's a mechanism.
It's a tool.
It's a tool in the toolbox. But then you have cold calling.
That feels different. That feels intrusive.
That's because it is. The definition specifically notes that cold calling is phoning people who have not requested a call. You're coming in cold.
An interruption.
You are. And because you're starting from that deficit, interrupting their day, the strategy often has to shift.
Which brings us to the next term on our list, the hard sell.
Yes.
Yeah.
The hard sell. This is when the attempt to sell becomes, very forceful or persuasive.
Why do they do that, though? I mean, does anyone actually like the hard sell? It seems like if someone pressures me, my instinct is to run away, not
hand over your credit card.
Exactly.
Well, think about the context of that cold call. You have seconds to capture attention. If you're passive, the person hangs up.
So it's a tactic born of necessity.
In that environment, yes. It's about overcoming that initial resistance with sheer force of personality or pressure. But it's not just on the phone. Our sources point to another venue devoted entirely to this.
The TV shopping channel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can picture it now. The countdown clock, the enthusiastic host. Only 3 left in stock.
Exactly. A TV shopping channel is literally a TV channel devoted to selling products. That's its only purpose. The content is the commercial. And what are they selling? Merchandise.
Which is really just a fancy word for products that are bought and sold.
Simply put, yes. But in that environment, the goal is very specific. They want you, the viewer, to part with their money.
That's such a descriptive phrase, isn't it? Part with their money. It sounds painful.
It implies reluctance. It acknowledges that your natural state is to keep your money. They have to convince you to let it go.
And that's where the tactics come in.
And one of those interesting strategies mentioned in our source material, and this is a key concept, is the loss leader.
Okay, let's unpack this one. Because this always feels a bit counterintuitive to me. Why would a business want to lose money?
It's a trap, essentially. A loss leader is defined as an item sold for less than it costs. So on that specific item, the store is actually losing cash.
But they do it to attract customers.
Precisely. The logic is, once you're in the door or on the website, because of that cheap item, you'll then buy more profitable items.
So they lure you in with cheap milk, hoping you buy the expensive cereal.
Or the classic example is the printer, right? They sell you the printer for almost nothing.
Oh, yeah.
They might lose money on that printer, that's the loss leader, but they make it back 10 times over on the ink cartridges.
It's about manipulating the mix of what you buy.
And that connects to how a store manages its inventory. They have to decide how to price them, give the products a price, but also whether to stock it or keep it in stock.
Right, to keep a supply. Because if you advertise a loss leader and then you don't actually have it.
Then you just have angry customers. It becomes a bait and switch, and that can ruin your reputation.
Which is a disaster. Okay, let's flip the script. We've talked about the seller's tactics, the hard sell, the loss leader. But the buyer isn't helpless here. We have tools too.
We do. And it starts with purchasing power. This is just the ability people have to buy goods. I mean, it's the amount of money available to them.
And when we have that power, what do? We shop around.
Which is a great phrase. It means trying different companies or shops to see who offers the best value. We don't just take the first offer. We compare.
However, and here's where it gets really interesting, companies try very hard to stop us from shopping around. They want to build a brand loyalty.
That is the holy grail for any business.
It has to be.
Brand loyalty is defined as confidence in a particular make and a tendency to always choose it. If you have brand loyalty, you stop shopping around.
You stop looking at the price tag as closely, you just buy.
You trust the name. You stop thinking about the merchandise as a commodity and start thinking of it as, well, part of your identity.
And that trust dictates how we move through the market. It influences whether we trade up
or trade down.
Right. So trade up is buying something of higher value than what you had before, usually a car or a house.
Right. You trade up from a starter home to a family home. It usually signals that your purchasing power has increased.
And conversely, to trade down is to buy something of lower value. Maybe you're downsizing for retirement or your purchasing power has decreased.
Exactly.
So we've covered the front lines, the cold calls, the shopping around. But now I want to zoom out and look at how these businesses actually get built in the first place.
Because before you can have a TV shopping channel empire, you usually start small.
You start with a startup.
A new company. But you can't just wish a startup into existence. You need fuel. You need to invest in the business. That means putting money into the project, and usually that money goes towards capital assets.
That sounds very official, very accountant speak.
Yeah.
What exactly are capital assets?
The source defines them as the buildings and machines owned by a company. It's the physical stuff you need to operate.
So not the stuff you sell to customers.
No, it's the stuff that allows you to create the product in the first place.
Okay, so speaking of that, our source material actually gives a very specific business model example here. It mentions a holiday property letting agency.
It does. A business that organizes the rental of holiday houses and flats.
Why do you think the source highlights that specific example? It seems so specific compared to a generic term like merchandise.
I think it illustrates the importance of finding a lane. If you launch a generic travel business, you're competing with giants.
Sure.
But a holiday property letting agency, that's targeting a niche market.
Ah, the niche, that specialized group of customers with very particular interests.
Exactly. And if you find the right niche market, say people who want pet-friendly cottages in a specific town, and you invest in the right capital assets, the business can become lucrative.
Lucrative. I love that word. It just sounds rich.
It means producing a lot of money. And if it's lucrative enough, you might find that the company hasn't looked back.
Which means it has moved forward successfully. I love that phrase. It implies the momentum is so strong looking back isn't even an option.
But this is where the story shifts again. When a company becomes too lucrative, or maybe when the market changes, we leave the startup phase and we enter the boardroom.
And the language gets a bit aggressive.
It really does. We start talking about predators and prey almost. When companies shift, we often see a takeover or a merger.
Okay, what's the distinction there? Because people use them like they're the same thing.
They definitely aren't. A takeover is when one company takes control of another one. It implies dominance. One wins, one is taken.
Okay.
A merger, on the other hand, is when two companies join together to become one. It suggests more of a partnership.
A marriage of equals.
Or at least it's presented that way.
Yeah.
But our vocabulary list has a phrase that paints a much more vivid picture of that takeover scenario.
Swallowed up?
Yes, swallowed up, taken over by a larger company. It's such a primal image. The big fish eats the little fish.
The smaller company just loses its identity entirely.
It's digested by the larger corporate body.
So how do we get there? How do two massive entities actually agree to do this? It doesn't just happen over a handshake.
No, it starts with a proposition, a formal offer. One side proposes a deal.
And then
they have to hammer out a deal.
I like that one. It sounds like hard work.
It is. The definition is to talk in detail until a business agreement is made. It implies friction. You're hammering away the rough edges.
And for that hammering to work, you need compromise.
An agreement where both sides reduce their demands a little. Nobody gets 100% of what they want. You have to give something up.
But it's not all excitement and dramatic boardroom showdowns, is it? The source material throws in some terms that remind us of the reality of big business. The boring stuff.
By obstacles, specifically red tape and administration.
Red tape is a classic.
It is. And notice the source specifically says it's used with a negative connotation. It means bureaucracy. It's the forms, the rules, the approvals that slow everything down.
And administration is just the organization of it all. Necessary, but not exactly thrilling.
It's the friction in the machine. You can have a lucrative niche market and a great proposition, but if you get mired in red tape, the deal can die.
Now, there is one other way a deal can go down. It doesn't always happen in a private boardroom. Sometimes it's public.
With a lot of shouting.
Yes, you're talking about the auction.
The auction, right. A sale where people make increasing bids, gradually increasing offers, and the item is sold to the highest bidder.
And we have a fantastic phrase for this in the source material. Come under the hammer.
Or go under the hammer.
To be sold at an auction. It's funny, we had a hammer out a deal, which is negotiation, and now under the hammer, which means the negotiation is over.
The hammer is a very versatile tool in business language. It represents finality. Whether you're hammering out details or the gavel is coming down, the hammer signifies the deal is done.
So let's just take a step back and look at this whole picture. We've gone from the cold call interrupting your dinner
To the loss leader, tempting you in the store.
to the startup finding its niche, and finally to the massive mergers and takeovers where companies get swallowed up.
It's all connected. The language of the deal is consistent, whether you're buying a toaster or buying a corporation.
It's all about value, persuasion, and power.
It is. And understanding these terms, like knowing what a loss leader is, that actually changes how you behave as a consumer, doesn't it?
It has to.
Absolutely. When you walk into a store and see that incredibly cheap item, if you know the term loss leader, you know you're being played. You know the strategy.
It gives you back some of that purchasing power.
It does. You can choose to buy the cheap item and just walk away, refusing to buy the profitable ones. You can beat them at their own game.
And knowing about brand loyalty makes you question your own habits. Am I buying this because it's the best merchandise, or am I just buying it because I always have?
Exactly. Critical thinking is the ultimate defense against the hard sell.
So here's a question I want to leave you with, based on everything we've discussed. We've seen that companies use hard sells and loss leaders to get your money. They want to build brand loyalty. But think about it from the business side.
This is the crucial pivot.
If a company relies heavily on the hard sell, if they have to force you to buy, or if they rely entirely on loss leaders, just selling things at a loss to get attention, are they actually building a healthy business?
Are they truly creating that brand loyalty?
Or are they just desperate?
That's the real question. Because if they're just churning through customers with aggressive tactics, they might be lucrative in the short term.
But in the long term, are they just fattening themselves up, waiting to be swallowed up by a competitor who actually knows how to build real value?
It's the difference between a flash in the pan and a business that hasn't looked back.
Something to chew on the next time your phone rings with a number you don't recognize. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the language of the deal.
Always a pleasure. Shop smart, everyone.